What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rob Live, and I'm super excited today. Many times when you're watching an episode, you'll hear a voice from heaven. No face, no body, just a voice from behind all the controls chiming in. Perfect time, great observations always. But now you have a face to match that voice. Today on our episode, we have the one and only James Philip Chance Jr. Round of applause for Mr. Chance.
What's up? Yeah, there we go.
He gives himself.
I give myself a standing ovation.
So Jim, as we commonly refer to him, has been there for me since day one. We'll talk more about his background, but if there's any person I could say that my media or social media existence wouldn't happen, it's with Jim. Jim's taught me so much about production, about angles, about camera work, all the stuff that I could care less about. Jim has made it a priority because it does matter. Production matters. So I'm very grateful for him. But I thought that our audience, Rob Live audience, should know who this man is. And so today we're going to spend some time learning about Mr. Chance. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, it's weird to say welcome. We've been together this whole time.
I know. You're at my house.
I know
on your show.
It's our studio. It's all just intermixed. So I want to start by from day one. Where were you born?
I was actually born in Fresno. Yeah,
Fresno. Valley Medical Center?
Yep. That I don't know. It's been so long.
You might want to check that birth
I
certificate.
was there, so you would think I would know.
Yes,
yeah.
he was there.
No.
So birth date?
4/8/73.
73. That's
What
the
year?
year. 73.
You were born 73?
Yeah. I know y'all trying to make me older than I am, but 73 is the year, just like everybody else.
No.
Me, you, and Easy-E.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's gone.
Rest in peace, Easy. Okay, so born in Fresno. Where were you raised though?
So my parents had me, and we were living in Fresno. We lived on G Street in Fresno. Shout out to G Street.
There's a lot of G Street
Yeah.
jokes that I'm not going to get into. But
So G Street was still bad back then that I remember, but we moved when we were 5, and my dad he got a job in Jostens. And at
the yearbook company.
Yeah.
So if you're from the Central Valley and you own a yearbook, it was probably published.
Yeah, there's 2
through
plants. I'm not sure what the other plant is. It's back in Central, back east. I always say back east, but it's not in California.
Mm-hmm.
But so the other plant was in Visalia, just right there off of 198. Yeah. And so we moved to Cutler. And so that was kind of a neutral area between where he needed to work and Visalia. It's about a 25-minute drive.
So wait, there's I want to say 8 different towns between Fresno and Visalia. Why Cutler?
I don't know. He's not here anymore to ask him. But I think it was just because they were building the Caspian Heights area, over there and stuff. So
Those are new homes at the time?
And my grandparents lived in Munson. So it was
Munson, Sultana.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Red Raiders.
Yeah. So so that might have been an issue or a reason why he wanted to.
So you get to Cutler, and what age? Like this?
5. I was
5. 5 years old. So you're looking around, you're hanging out. What'd you think of the neighborhood? What was your first impression?
At 5, it was
Fun.
It was awesome. I mean, well, how would I know? I mean, you're 5.
Well,
So-
let me get to what I'm getting to here. Racially speaking, was it a diverse
Yeah.
environment?
Back then,
You
yeah.
had white, Latino, Asian.
I think we were still probably one of that I remember.
Yeah.
3 white families and within a block radius. I mean, I know. I think there was some Millers there. I lived up across the street, but everyone else was Hispanic, and yeah.
And that's when you met Willie.
So when in that same ballpark area,
Yeah.
when in fact I take that back. I think we moved there when I was 3, and then when I was 5, I met Willie. And,
All right. So you went to Palm School,
No, I went to Cutler.
Cutler.
It was K-8, and then
So you were there from kindergarten through 8th
all
grade.
the way, yeah. And then Willie Alvarado, he was across the street, kind of corner.
Which was your best friend growing up?
Yeah, we grew up just, when you say best friend, it's almost like the first friend and the one you hang out with the most all the time and stuff. And from this day,
Who's known you since day
yeah,
one.
yeah. So and then his sisters and his family and his family's just always been there from day one. So
How would you describe your childhood? Like, was it fun?
honestly, yeah. I
You,
mean,
you have a sibling, right? Your brother.
I have a younger brother, Michael. Shout out Michael Chance.
And how old was the age gap?
4 years. He was 4 years younger.
Okay.
And during that time, growing up, I was with Willie. Right next door to him was Terry Hogue. Across the street from Terry was Eloy Gonzalez.
Eloy.
Down the road from him was Alvino and Chuck Lopez, Renato Castillo.
So that was your get along. That was your
Zeke Gonzalez around the corner from them.
Yeah.
Rocky and Encinas. So all of them, we ended up going to school together.
all the way through high school.
Yeah, yeah. So some of them
Wow.
were 3-4 years apart from me and stuff. But so yeah.
There's just something special about being with somebody from such an early age, right, to now.
Yeah, and and I don't know, I'm trying to remember what you've said in the past, but I think there's something said, and I live in the country now, ish,
Yeah.
and there's something said when you have a block of friends growing up that you could just, we didn't have cell phones, pagers, all that stuff was later, but just to go outside and play. I mean, I
Yeah.
just remember those days of just being able to like hang out at the fire hydrant on the block.
Yeah.
And that was like our gathering spot. And then when the lights came on, obviously back then you'd go home when the lights come on, right? I think that was everywhere.
Okay, so hold on. For kids who, ages 6 to 12 years old today, outside is this place when you open the front door where the grass, right? Because so
Right,
much of our
yeah.
culture now is indoors, right?
And it's sad. It is sad because now what happens?
Uh-oh.
Now
I think we're going to sound like grumpy old men for
I
a minute
know,
here.
but see, but then I'm jumping way forward. Having my own kids and family, we lived in a neighborhood, right? And what happens? A car goes by, you slow down what you're doing, take a look. It's just that question of like, who? Oh, it's Jerry down the road or whatever. It's hi, how you guys doing? And nowadays it's not the same.
You don't know
man.
your
It's
neighbors.
they're driving a little too fast. Slow down, come on, get off the street. You don't know what's going to happen.
No, it's different.
And back then, if they're driving 40 miles an hour and we're throwing rocks at it, like back then it was like,
Slow down.
yeah, slow down, but
Wave the fist.
and they're messing up our game or whatever it was. We want to get back out on the street.
So today they have those, I don't know if you've seen those, like the fancy little turtle says kids at play. Have you seen those?
That's as bad as saying child on board, those signs.
Slow
It's
down.
like, yeah. So
So yeah, it's a different time. So okay, predominantly Latino environment. So growing up, who would you say was your like influences? Like who really influenced you at that time? Do you have any role models or someone you looked up to, someone who guided you through this process?
I would say Willie's parents were really a big influence on growing up because I mean they worked hard. It was when I met Willie, his family was straight, his dad, and his family too, but it was more like straight out of Mexico, and they had to work in the fields in the morning, and then they went to school, and then afterwards they went back to work in the fields.
So you saw that go down.
I went with them. I grew up to where it's like, hey, what are you doing? You want to come with us? So I would
You
go
used to
with
go to
them.
the fields.
Yeah, I would jump in the back of the truck and go with them. So I mean, it was just the culture was like very open, and it wasn't like, why is this white boy wanting to go with us? It was more like we were all a clique, and there was nobody better than anyone on the block.
The way it should be.
Yeah, and so we had so much fun growing up. And I made a comment a while back, if anyone remembers, but it's like back then, if you want to say we were poor, we didn't know we were poor.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where you just kind of like, you take advantage of what you have.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. I was telling Willie, and I'll bring Willie up a lot in this, but like growing up, he had a pool, and his first pool was a trash can. We used to fill up the trash can and jump in it and get cold and whatever, and then knock each other down and fill it back up. And obviously drought was not an issue back then either, but like we had fun doing what we wanted to as friends there, playing tag, playing kickball, playing, like all that stuff on the street.
All right. So that's outside the home. Let's talk about inside the home.
Yeah.
What was your experience like growing up with your brother and your parents?
It was good. I had a good childhood. I didn't have.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I had another person I interviewed, Christy Kamara, and she talked about the fact that her parents allowed her to be a child, which meant that there was no adult-like responsibilities thrown on her at an early age. Do you feel like you were allowed to be a kid?
No, not in it. Yes, a kid,
Yeah.
but there were rules, and they were old school.
Like what kind of rules?
You know,
Were you
don't
getting
talk.
whooped?
Don't talk. Yeah, hell yeah, by the belt.
The
You know,
belt.
there was no CPS coming the next day to help you out. You know, it was more like, hey, this is the rule.
So what were the house rules?
So mainly don't talk to your parents. You know, obviously
Yeah, be
that basic
respectful.
homework priorities was school was first for my dad,
Yeah.
and making sure all that was taken care of, and then just respect. You know, no drinking, driving, all that stuff was
Be
just
respectful.
the basic stuff. No drugs, and really, I mean, you know, as you get older, you start really, okay, you're dating, you're having, you know, you're experimenting in life and knowing what you can and do. And it's like, hey, I got a girlfriend or whatever. And my dad's talk was, if you're man enough to do it, you better be man enough to take care of it. And that scared me because I'm like, I'm dependent on my dad or
That
my
was his,
family. Yeah, that was his birds and the bees talk.
Birds and the bees. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's got to have
And
that.
it was like, if you're going to do that, you better take care of it because I'm not taking care of it. And I was like, oh, shoot. You know, it was like,
when
and-
did you get the talk?
when?
Yeah, what age were you?
Oh, I was in high school.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's consequences in life. And, you know,
That really kept you on
Yeah.
the straight and narrow.
so
Just for the record, he was childless until marriage. Just
yes.
I'm gonna clear your
Yes.
name.
Yeah.
So okay, so I am a younger brother, right?
Okay.
So I would have been Michael in this situation. My brother was 5 years older. Were you a good big brother? I wish we could pull Michael in right now. What were you like as a sibling?
I mean, every sibling's going to say, yeah, we were. Oh, of course. Yeah.
Did you take care of him?
I think I did. I think he was young enough to where he obviously what brother is going to want to be taken care of by their older brother. We picked on him just like any other younger
Yeah.
brother and life stuff. But
Nothing excessive?
No. I do. The one thing I do resent having a younger brother, however it was, and I say this very.
I already know what you're going to say.
No, you don't. You don't.
He
Because
had it easier than me.
well, no. Okay. Yeah.
That's what you were going
Right,
to say.
but in some ways he didn't. He had it easy in my household that I always felt like, you know, why didn't he get to mow the lawn when I had to mow both the lawns? There's 2 lawns.
Or wash the car for ice cream.
Or yeah, we'll get into that. But he didn't have those royalties in high school. So I was actively involved in everything. I was
ASB.
I was big
football.
time in football, basketball, tennis.
I didn't know the tennis. The tennis is new. to me.
And well, my dad played tennis, so I wanted to like kind of
Okay.
feel good that he was out there watching me and stuff. So and he would come and watch me from the car and smoke a cigarette and watch me. So, but
My boy.
but I kind of, and this is not putting me on a pedestal, but I kind of had my own legacy in school.
Yeah.
I was.
You left your mark,
Yeah.
definitely.
Totally. So then my brother comes in 4 years later, and now he had teachers saying, "Oh, I hope you have big shoes to fill."
Oh,
So
yeah.
the standards.
That happened to me.
Yeah. So the standards I feel like were really high after I left, and I felt bad because
And unfair pressure.
yeah, and he didn't have a chance to kind of
No pun intended.
no
chance.
no chance. He didn't have a chance. He literally didn't have an opportunity to set his own
Identity.
challenges and his identity. Yeah. So it was kind of rough that way. But
I'm glad you see that because I don't know if my brother has done the math on the fact that he was a 3-sport athlete, college scholarship offers.
really,
Yeah, for football and baseball. And then here comes Little He's Scared though. So yeah, I understand your brother. Michael, I feel you. You out there? I feel you, Michael. Big shoes to fill.
but it's funny we say that now because he's working with the district I work for,
Yeah.
and then he's doing really
Liberty
well.
Hawks.
Yeah, Liberty Hawks, and he loves the job. I think he loves being around the kids, and it's one of those things where it's like he found a job that he's our nightside custodian, and I think
So
he just feels I wouldn't say welcome, but he just feels needed and feels
Yeah, part of
appreciated,
something.
and yeah, totally. And it's taken a while. I would think that my wife always tells me like, you like to pat on the back, and I go, yeah, sometimes I do. And sometimes.
Was she surprised by that?
By what?
You like encouragement. That is.
Well, she's like, you should you shouldn't just want to be patted on the back. You should
I think we all
automatically
do, right?
assume. I do. I think so. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm like,
So I do it all the
we
time.
go.
Yeah. So I look at myself in the mirror. You did that.
You did that.
Yeah. So
All right. So high school was a great experience for you. One of the things that I like to point out about you, to just like people in general, is how you were so like a Renaissance man. Like you had all these different things you would do, right? You had the super athlete, all conference football guy who was willing to take off his pads for a year
Yeah.
and cheer the team on as a mascot.
Yeah.
That's rare.
So I looked at a lot of things like that, because I looked at, like, I didn't look at ever being pro football, basketball, whatever it is. That's like something maybe a kid dreams of.
Yeah.
I looked at more of wanting to do it now and learn it and say you did it.
Yeah.
So I got all my school stuff out of the way early, and I had my senior year 4 woodshop classes because I loved woodshop. So I love building and doing that
4?
stuff. 4 periods of woodshop. Yeah.
Is that possible?
Yeah, we didn't have work experience, so we weren't able to leave.
So you were in the woodshop class for 4
hours.
period.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, all
And
day.
What were you building?
Entertainment centers, desk. I built a foosball table. I mean, anything. It was really
The
cool.
foosball
Yeah,
table
that I have,
from
yeah.
your apartment
That's
that
my
you
high
still
s-
own?
Yeah, it's my high school
Oh, my
senior
God.
project. Yeah. So
That is amazing.
so I just loved working with my hands and building things and
Wait, 4
creative
periods
stuff.
a day.
Yeah.
Figured you'd have a log cabin by now.
I sold a lot of stuff. So I would build it and sell it and start on something different.
The entrepreneur since
yeah.
day one.
But hence the studio. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
once I get my mind on something,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
like,
this
man.
happened
So
in like 3 weeks, folks.
Yeah, I'm
you,
like-
you have to appreciate. I don't know. Do you have pictures of this? The before pictures?
Yeah, a little bit here
This
and there.
was
Not.
all. What do we call it? Thrift store.
Yeah, they call
storage?
it a thrift store. We're upstairs. At
This
my
is a beautiful
father-in-law's
space
shop.
now, Jim. In 3 weeks.
Yeah. So
Shout out to who's your woodshop teacher?
Mr. Brown, Jeff Brown.
Jeff Brown.
Yeah, and
Thank
he was
you.
my activities director as well.
He was at ASB.
Yeah. So it was kind of cool because talking to him about well, I haven't. In fact, I
You guys still in touch?
through Facebook? Yeah. So, but no. So being a cheerleader was.
I was going to ask you about that. Was there a like a stereotype? I mean, did the guys give you a hard time because you
Big
have
time.
football friends,
Big time.
and now you're cheer? What was the reaction?
Football was like, obviously we all love playing football as kids
Yeah.
and stuff. Then all of a sudden,
The Valley's all about sports, right?
yeah, and then one year I happened to come across watching. I don't remember the mascot. It was the gorilla, the basketball gorilla. Who's
That's the Phoenix Suns.
Phoenix Suns doing the flip and then he'd dunk it
Yeah,
and then getting everyone riled up. I was just drawn to.
that's the most athletic
the
mascot in the
attraction.
history.
Yes, and I had a big old bird's head on my head, so I wasn't able to do
A Rossi,
flips.
by the way, guys, for those who aren't from the Valley, Rossi Cardinal, the bird is the mascot that they had.
So I had leggings and all that stuff, but
So one day you just said, "I want to be in the costume."
we didn't have a mascot yet, and so
You were the first?
Yeah, a second. And so Joe, I forgot his last name. He was the first mascot, and I watched him as I played my sophomore year, and he was a senior. And I'm like, I could do way better than that. I could get everyone fired up. And that was the thing, is I wanted to get everyone all fired up and excited about the event.
Yeah.
And so the next year they had tryouts and I went after it and I got it. And
So,
yeah.
but here's the thing that I'm like, I want to point out to the audience. It wasn't like Jim was like a backup player that wasn't going to be missed if you got into costume. He was a starter. As a matter of fact, your senior year, you end up first team all league, right?
Yeah, we made All-Star All-League. And,
Yeah. So here's an impact player. Coach is like, all right, I get him junior year. Big, tall, corn fed, right? And they're like, Coach,
Yeah, I'm not playing.
I'm not playing this year. What's the matter, Jim? Got an injury or grades? I'm going to be the mascot. What was that conversation like?
He threw his clipboard. I remember specifically he threw his clipboard, calling me some words that
Remember, guys,
probably
this is
can't
the
use.
'90s that
You could get away with that.
Teachers could say certain things.
And said I was, well, and then at the end he goes, and he basically just said, he goes, you're going to do what you want to do. And I was like, well, I just want to try it out. I want to try to see if I like it. And so I did it for a year and had one of the best times of my lives. I'd still talk about it today. I mean, it kind of opened up my shell. I was really shy in school. And it's funny, you would always say like, that's just really not like you, but
No.
I was the guy in the back seat, quiet. I was the one observing. I was the one just noticing what was going on, but I wasn't the leader. I was more of a follower.
Yeah. Well, I will say this, Jim, because I know this is a rare experience, but I put the mascot costume on once, and that was at Sierra Pacific, right?
Oh, okay.
Golden Bears.
Yeah.
And we're the Grizzlies, right? Well, it's a bear. So we put the bear costume on, and what I felt was this freedom because now I'm no longer Rob. I'm, Goldie, the gold bear, whatever, and I can do whatever I want, and it's completely acceptable.
It's empowering.
Yes, it's a freedom, folks. If you ever get a chance to try this, it's a freedom that you'll never experience in any other part of life unless you're like on stage in costume, because you can hide your face, nobody knows who you are, and if you decide to do a dance or get up and be out of your normal realm of comfort, it's socially acceptable. They're like, oh yeah, no, the cardinal's supposed to do cartwheels. Oh, he's dancing to the song. That's what he's supposed to do. It's liberating, right?
Yeah. And
so what were some of the things you pull off as a mascot?
Oh yeah.
Were you like the song? Did you have a song?
No, but I remember. Obviously we all know Hulk Hogan, so I would come out and I'd have a shirt that I was already ripped, and
Hulkamania.
I would like totally tear it off and get everyone fired up. I came in with different vehicles and to get everyone fired. I was in a cage, and I would jump out and I had a sack full of like props. And one of the craziest times that no one ever thought I'd be able to or pull this off was we played Exeter.
Yeah.
And it was during their homecoming game. And
their homecoming.
Yes. And so during the event of proceeding to announce the candidates, they announced the queen, and I was like, you know what? I have a bouquet of flowers in my bag. And so I said, I'm going to walk across and give her bouquet of flowers.
Why did you have a bouquet of flowers?
I had a bag of props. They were plastic. They were fake.
And you just picked whatever.
Yeah, I had a rubber chicken. I had bells. I had an air horn. I had all kinds of funny stuff.
Where'd you get all this stuff?
Just randomly collecting it. So first
You
year.
like premeditated, like, hey,
oh yeah,
I'm having a bag of tricks.
Yeah, well, and I learned this because
you remind me of the San Diego Chicken. You guys remember?
Oh, that was
Is that
awesome.
still exist?
Yeah, he was awesome.
The San Diego Chicken had props. Is that where you got? Who was your role model for all this?
Well, I first originally saw the gorilla.
Yeah,
but the chicken was funny, and then they had all these things that I can't afford those suits that they had and all these things that they were doing. But so I just collectively did that. But going back, I just try out for it. That's not all I did. I had to go to camp. And when I went to cheer camp
with all the other mascots,
so we're 960 some girls and 4 dudes.
Yeah.
So my dad's like, "Are you gay?" And I'm like, "Nope, I'm having a great time." So, but it was interesting. So, because he was like, "Why do you want to be a mascot? You're gay?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not. It's fine. It's fine." And so I wore pink, and I blended in really well. But you learn all these techniques. And so you learn to have a go-to bag for all these little things. And so I had a bouquet of plastic flowers.
Again, this is the Exeter homecoming.
Yes, Exeter homecoming game. And I'm walking across the field, center field, 50-yard line, going across.
And everybody's probably watching like, what is he going to do?
They booed me. They booed me bad. And the principal, our principal wasn't there at the time where I was leaving.
Yeah.
On the visitor side, but their principal met me and was like, basically, what the F are you doing here? Like, what are you doing? And I told him I have some flowers I'd like to give the queen, or the queen, the princess, the queen. And he got it, and he was so respectful and says, "No, that'll be cool." And so I went around after she was nominated and given her flowers and stuff like that. And I went over to the other side and got down on one knee and handed her the flowers and kissed her hand, and then came back and went. Standing ovation. Everyone was like, that was so respectful. And I ended up making it in their their Tribune paper. It
For-
was
I-
yeah for doing that. So
Rossi Cardinal.
yeah. So it was
Wow.
it was kind of cool because
Now, did it hit you in the moment, or this was like premeditated?
no, it just hit me right there. I should go over there. I should go over there and give
And
her
did you
flowers.
did you check with anybody, or just
Nope,
took off?
Just did it.
So, what did the cheer squad? What was your relationship with them?
Really good, really good. We had a good time. We had some that were really shy still and stuff, so we had to break the ice with them and get them going. And yeah, but for the most part, I'm friends with all of them still. Yeah, so just kind of here and
Wow.
there. So Erica, who used to be a really good friend of the
I
family.
remember Erica because she was in the talent show.
She was in there. Yeah,
She was in Vogue.
Yeah. So, but it was a group of girls that were real popular back then. Obviously, your cheerleaders, kind of the popular kids, and we just did everything together. We hung out and did all this stuff. And for 1 year, I did everything as a cheerleader, involved in all that.
Did
stuff.
you skip basketball?
Everything.
As well?
Yeah.
You no sports.
No sports.
Just focus.
Yep.
And when you came back, because I know you went basketball and football your senior year, were you well received? Like, did the guys?
There was a couple guys at the beginning that were like, obviously derogatory comments here and there and stuff. But I'm like, yeah, but I'm with your girlfriend all day. It was almost those little uppercuts of just more like, yeah, but I'm with them.
So you navigated that well.
Yeah, and very well. And a lot of the guys were like, I get it. And they're like, they'd call me anything they want, but it was more on the back burner. They're like, I know they envied me. I know they did.
And then
So-
you proved yourself as an athlete that you were legit.
Yeah. So the next year I was like, I did that. I accomplished myself being a mascot, and I said, I want to go back into sports.
Man, that is crazy. Like,
Yeah.
who would?
So basketball and all that was just, I'm not coordinated enough to be a dribbler and all that stuff, but I was tall enough to be in basketball really well. And, but then for the most part, football, it was football, and it was, averaging
the most physical sport.
Yeah. It was 2-3 sacks a game.
Yeah.
Andy Bueno and I both made All-Star. So we went and played
Nice.
against the East and West. And then we started meeting some other players, Charlie Jones, Gene Smith, that were in the group that went.
Wait.
They went pro.
Charlie Jones,
Yeah,
San
yeah.
Diego Chargers.
Yep.
Charlie
Yeah.
Jones.
Well, he played for the Saints for a little bit, and he went over there. Yeah. So
Wow.
we exchanged stickers and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was
Okay,
pretty
so
cool.
let's talk about after high school, you get into video production, camera work. Where did that come from?
So I always wanted to film for National Geographic. That was like my goal.
Since when?
Since I was a little kid.
You saw National Geographic said,
Yeah.
I want to be
We
the
had
camera
the books, remember the books
guy. I
and everything?
remember the
Yeah.
books.
So, wanted to film for National Geographic. And then I researched it knowing that you're on the road a lot. You're gone a lot.
And you're okay with that. You want to see the world.
Well, I know that was a deterrent. So it was more like, well, I don't want to focus on a polar bear for 3 months, 6 months,
Yeah.
a year just to see its mating season. I started thinking about all these little things like, man, and that's pretty dedicated. If you watch these films, they
That's
don't
true,
just
yeah.
get it. It
We
takes
see 30
years.
seconds.
Yes, we see a 30-minute show,
Took
and
them
you're like,
years.
it took them years. And but then just opener, I got into it, and so we're out doing our thing. Growing up, 21, 22 years old, clubbing, doing that. And I met this crew that was at Soho's. Remember Soho's in the
Wow.
Tower District?
Fresno people, we're going way
Yeah.
back.
And
Soho's, Millennium.
they were doing a story on Valentine's
Bisla's.
Day. Oh yeah, Bisla's, Metropolis.
Metropolis. That's
Yeah.
the one. Millennium.
Yeah.
Metropolis.
And anyways, I went up to the cameraman and asked him, like, what's your profession? What's your job title? And he's a photojournalist. And then I said, all right. So then
That was it.
That was
Just
it.
like that.
So then I asked about internships or, how do I get into this? And he goes, yeah,
Yeah.
we have an internship. So then I met Kenny Crumpton. I don't know if you remember. Kenny Crumpton was like,
Was he on camera?
yeah, he was an African-American guy. He used to do BAM. He had a mug and he would be all BAM. And
Was he a sports guy?
no, he was the morning reporter.
Okay.
He was out in the field and stuff. So I met him.
Yeah.
And then I just started meeting other people, and they were like, hey, come on over. We have an opening for an internship. And
And that was
and
it.
then I got into it, trained myself. And after a while, they had an opportunity to hire me. And I already knew the system and the equipment and stuff as an intern. And
How many years?
26 years.
26 years. Okay, so now here's where these guys are gonna. I'll ask the question, guys. Yes, it's coming. 26 years, plenty of celebrities along the way.
Yeah.
Right? Give us a hit list. Walter Payton's the one that I know.
So Walter Payton. I don't know her name, Elaine from
Elaine. Oh yeah,
Seinfeld.
Elaine from Seinfeld.
So
It'll come to me in a minute.
So going down the list, I've read a lot of athletes. So Ronnie Lott, Jerry Rice,
Man, all the
Elton
greats.
John. I met
Elton John.
I met Elton John. I met the group Sublime before the guy died.
Oh
Whatever
man,
the singer.
Brad.
Yeah.
Brad
Before
was
he
the lead
died, I
singer.
met them. Oh man, I know there's a lot I don't remember, but Dwayne Johnson. I met
The Rock.
Arnold Schwarzenegger several times.
What?
Our Governor Davis.
Yeah.
Duke Majian back then.
Duke Mason. And then all of the Sacramento Kings, right?
So then when I moved to Sacramento, I worked for Univision, which is funny because I think the culture of growing
Univision.
up in
Canal 21.
and but I think being around the culture and having some friends and stuff, they offered the opportunity. And I was editing
your OC
in
days
Spanish.
paid off. You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah, totally.
I understand. Because
I knew the culture and I knew everything in there, and they were surprised that I did. And so,
And so you met some people
I met
that
there.
way.
I was there for 3 years, and I met a lot of people covering the Kings games. I met Gordo y Flaco. You know, I met those
Gordo y
Flaco. And that whole other
That other
lifestyle.
realm.
Yeah,
Okay, so
that was good times.
So of course we need to know best and worst experience with a celebrity. We'll go with our best first. Who was the coolest, most down to earth celebrity that you're like, I could hang with that person?
So, while in the media or the one?
Yeah, in the media.
Okay, so I had an opportunity to I was working in Bakersfield and I had a really good opportunity to I was in Bakersfield and I was dating someone at the time where her brother and her and them invited me over for my birthday. And
Your birthday?
Yeah, my birthday. So I went over there. We were barbecuing and stuff, and then the doorbell rang. And so she was like, "Hey, do you mind opening the door?" And I said sure. And so as I opened the door, it was Dwayne Johnson just standing.
So
right
the
there,
Rock's
just
at the
standing
door.
there, yeah. And
did you recognize him immediately?
Yeah, I did. But it was kind of like a celebrity shock, like what am I looking at like right now? And
Is this
so,
real?
but then it caught on, and I was like, hey, and he goes, hey, is David here? And I was like, yeah, come on in. And I guess they had gone to high school together, and so he
Pennsylvania, right?
I
Pennsylvania.
don't remember. And so he came a day early to wrestle in the SmackDown in Bakersfield.
And hang out with his friend.
And we just, yeah. And
So for your birthday,
so
you
my
hung out with
birthday,
The Rock.
it was kind of one of those like, for like 3 hours, we were all just sitting there having dinner, drinking some wine and chilling and talking life. And that was when he first started.
So wait, did you have the cake and they sang happy birthday?
No, it didn't.
No?
It was just more of this,
The Rock
just a
is like,
barbecue.
you're welcome.
Yeah, no. This was when he was filming Walking Tall. I think was
Walking
his
Tall,
first
yeah,
role.
with
Yeah.
Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah.
Of Jackass
So, but I mean,
But he was the coolest, like
that was a super cool situation.
and he's now the biggest
and it's
action hero in the world.
And you gotta respect the fact that when you meet someone and you like them, and so I watched all his movies, whether they were good or bad, or like whatever.
You support him.
Yeah, and so and it's hard to hear all the rumors and talk about what's going on in Hawaii and all the support that he was trying to, come across, and there was some bad juju and stuff going on. But I was like, you know what, I know him back then, and stuff. But
not only that, but we're all human.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a story. I mean, if I wanted to dish up some Jim Dirt or some Rob Dirt, we could find it.
Oh, I'm sure.
But when you're in a microscope for like 20 plus years, you're gonna find something.
And
have bad days.
that was one of my things being in the TV world was nobody I was interviewing was better than me. They just had a talent that was discovered yet. And that was my mentality. They had to put their shoes and pants on the same way I did.
Exactly.
And so, and I learned that from a really good mentor of mine, Les Rose, who's just always been a great photojournalist, and he's worked with some really big people now.
Is he still in the business?
No, he's teaching now. And he's a professor.
We'll get to that next.
Yeah. So, but anyways, he would always tell me, because I remember, and I'm going way off subject here, but Kerry Stayner was a case that we did here in Fresno County, where the guy had unfortunately killed 3 people that were up in the Yosemite area. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we were up there covering that, and my mentor was up there, Les, and so we were all at the podium, and this was where like Yosemite was Yosemite, but we were so close, so we were covering it, but we were like the local compared to who was sitting next to me was
ABC, NBC.
network stuff. But then you also had America's Most Wanted. You had 2020. You had
everybody was
ABC,
there.
big time names that were there. And you're looking over and you're seeing like, okay, I know I've seen that reporter on national television, not just local news. And as soon as the interview was done from the sheriff department, everyone just split because they grabbed their mics, they took off running, and they went to their trucks to start riding. And I was like a little kid, like, oh my gosh, what happened? And my mentor told me, Les, I remember, I'll never forget this. He goes, they're the ones that put on the same pants as you do. They have to white balance. They have to focus their camera rings. They have to check their microphones exactly like you do. So don't be discouraged because they're doing the same job you're doing. They're just in a different market or different atmosphere. And it really made me calm down and be like, I could do this. I could really do
Which
this.
you did.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And the 26 years of my career in television has really made me who I am. I mean,
created a perspective that's unique.
And now I teach broadcasting, television.
We're going to get to that in a minute. But before that, we said your best celebrity experience. What was your worst?
Yeah, probably my worst was just, and I said her name earlier, and I don't know her
Julia
name.
Dreyfus.
Is it? Okay. She was a bitch.
Elaine from
She
Seinfeld.
was a bitch. She literally was, I mean, I don't care. I'm not going to make any money off her. Entertaining wise, yeah. But now that I've seen her and what her true colors were, and she could have had a bad day, but we were at a Make-A-Wish Foundation thing, and I was standing next to her because they were feeding us, and I asked her a question about something.
Was it trivial or was it about
There was
the
no
shoot?
camera. There was no camera in her face or anything, and I was just asking her something basically about how long are you here. I think it was something more how long are you staying here for this event, and she literally just stopped and looked at me and says, "Do not talk to me unless you talk to my agent." And I was like, "Okay, you can't be a human being, you know." And
do we have a boo or do we have a button for that?
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's a boo though, but and I don't know if
That's terrible.
Do you guys know what I'm doing right now? Do you explain to them why I'm doing this?
No.
All right,
Go ahead, break it down.
So usually Robert said before I'm the one doing all this stuff, but right now he's interviewing me, so I still got to control the cameras and stuff. So
he's doing angles and sound effects as we go.
There's my camera. Let's go to Robert. There you go. So, but anyways, so that was probably the most, and that wasn't really nothing.
No, it is. It is.
It was just
to have that,
people put celebrities in such a high category, and I always want to put them in check. Like, you didn't get your fame and fortune other than from your fans, so don't ruin that. And
take care of the people that support you. Okay, so let's transition now. You did that for 26 years, and then I remember a phone call from you, and the phone call was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about going into education. I know you're a teacher, so what are your thoughts?" And then you kind of picked my brain on it. And I was like, oh my God, Jim's going to leave. I mean, that was like, we knew you as the media guy, the camera guy, and now you're going into a whole new realm. What made you want to make that transition?
It's a weird, and it's funny because I would cover stories about, I'm going to say you teachers, about complaining about, we need more money. We need less kids in our
all
class.
The complaints.
All these complaints.
Smaller class sizes.
And these smaller class sizes and all
Raises.
this stuff. And I would cover stories for years.
And you'd be like, man, these guys are.
All they do is complain.
All they do is complain.
It's like they got summers off, 3 months, 2 months out of the year off. They get weekends off. They holidays. And I'm like, and all they do is want whatever. Now I understand. Now being a teacher, I totally understand. So I respect everything that we do now, as educators. But and I did before too, but it was just more like why you complain. But I got a text from Indeed.com, and I was like, I don't even have the app, and it had on there a bunch of different jobs. So I was like sitting there. I think it was in the morning. I had a cup of coffee, and I just started scrolling.
Were
through
you
this.
done with media? Like you didn't want?
No, I'm still in it.
I know, but were you looking for something else?
No, all of a sudden, I didn't even register for Indeed.com, and I got this random text.
Oh, that's fate.
And I'm like scrolling through it, and I saw on their educators, and I was like, whatever. And I clicked on it. And as I'm going through, it led me into, it's funny you say that, it led me into a job opportunity in Sierra High School.
Wow.
And there was a part-time.
Cue Drake's God's Plan.
Crazy. So I like clicked on it, and it wanted me to fill out all this mamadas.
And for some reason, you were filling it in. And,
no, I didn't even touch it.
Oh, at that time.
I was on my phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to go through. I didn't even think about being a teacher. Then 2 days later, I was like, I'm going to call him, because I was like, I don't want to go through all this filling out. It was just, and to be honest, I didn't have a degree. So I'm like, there's no way. So I go, you know what, I'm going to call. So I call them, the number that's on there, and I get their
human resources.
Yeah, human resources. And well, let me patch you into the person in charge. And it was their principal, Julie Reese. And she literally told me on the phone, while their HR first told me, you're going to have to fill out all that stuff. But you're overqualified for the position.
Of all your experience in media.
You're overqualified, but you're going to have to still fill out all this stuff. And she goes, let me patch you into Julia. And so she sent it to me, and she picked it up, and we started talking, and she's like, what do you do? And I go, I do this, and blah, 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 for how many years? I'm like, oh man, this and that. And she goes, yeah, you're very overqualified.
How many channels did you go through?
First job was 47.
One.
Then I went from there to Bakersfield 58.
2.
And then from there I went back to Fresno to channel 24. Then I went to 30. Then I went back to Bakersfield to 17. And then I went to Univision, and then back to 47.
7 channels.
In 26 years.
Yeah.
So I started at 47 and I ended at 47.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Mark
and
Cotta.
all of those were always
shout out Mark Cotta Sports.
Yeah.
Stephanie Barugian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those two.
All of them. Stephanie, Diana Rubio. I mean, there was a whole bunch of the ones that kind of moved on. George Takata.
You work with Liz? What's Liz at? Liz is at Channel
26?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You worked with her?
Well, I didn't work with her, but we all know everybody. That's that's the cool thing about it, is like you become that.
She helped us with London.
That group. Yeah. So,
so then you leave, and they said you're overqualified, but they decide to hire you anyway?
So she calls me back, and I said, I don't have a degree. And she goes, would you be willing to go back to school if we bring you in for an interview? And I said, sure. What's that consist of? Because I ain't doing 4 or 5 years like most educators.
Yeah.
And I need my CTE credential. So they said, we'll put you on emergency credential, go to school. So on the weekends, they ended up hiring me on the spot. I went to the interview. They showed me some examples.
You said you were looking for a job.
I wasn't.
Why did you keep?
I never quit 47.
No, but why did you keep with this process? What made you even explore it?
I think it was one of those football cheerleading opportunities. It was like, I want to try this out.
Okay.
Because I knew in the back of my mind, if it didn't work out, I'd go back into TV.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to try this out. And I talked to you. I talked to my uncle, who was an educator for Clovis at Gettysburg, Mike Podesta. Shout out. He's gone, passed away. Sorry. But yeah, he, all of you guys were giving me good signs and stuff.
Yeah,
and what's crazy about this is we didn't have photojournalists editing stuff in our face back when we were in high school. What do we have? What were your electives?
My electives, creative writing, wood shop, or auto.
Maybe. Did you have welding?
Dinuba High. We might have had that.
See, that's it.
And that's it.
And ag, if you had FFA.
Yeah.
Maybe. So I looked at it like, here's another reason why I did this. And this is not any bad thing for anyone to hear what I'm saying regarding to the people that we hired.
Yeah.
But we were at the point when we were hiring warm bodies at our station. And I was in charge of helping out, like, hey, let's get this guy's resume. Let's see if he knows what he's doing, and talk to him and stuff like that. Bring him in an interview, because I was probably second or third on the list at that point. And they didn't know how to white balance. They didn't know how to rack focus. They didn't know how to do the adjustments, the angles and stuff. And I'm like, where are you coming from? oh, we went to school in Chico, or we went over here and blah, blah, blah. Or I thought it would be a good idea to get into this industry. I'm like, I gotta have an opportunity to show kids before they get into this line of work that that's not the way
So
it's
Liberty
supposed
Hawks
to.
that take video production know how to white balance.
Well, we don't have those advanced cameras, but they know how to do all the shots. Yeah. Yeah. So it's
Here, let me show you what this is Chance Video Production 101. Okay, you ready? When you are filming something with your phone, okay, you don't watch TV like this. You watch TV with a widescreen. So
Am I
never
wrong?
take shots that are vertical, horizontal. Brought to you by Chances Are Productions, Liberty Hawks video production teacher.
What's on the side of that when you see a vertical shot on television? What's on the sides? And you're looking at it right here on your image.
I see blank. Black.
Yeah.
On both sides.
So
A vertical shot.
that is a no-no in television.
We'll feel
They still
everything.
do it. And what do they do now? They'll blow up, they'll layer it.
Yeah.
They'll blow up that same image to where it's blurry, and then they'll put that on top of it.
Well, because of you, I will. None of my footage is ever like. If my YouTube channel, it's always like this now.
So, but
Okay,
yeah.
so you got it. So you get into teaching. Your first job is at Sierra High School, and they say, "Hey, we know you're into video production, but what do you think about ASB?" And you said,
I had no idea other than what I
You're
remember
like,
in
let's
school.
go.
Yeah.
"I'll do it."
They came to me after my first year, and mind you, I was still working and going to school. I was going to school on the weekends, going to 47 in the evenings, and going to school
my.
at Sierra in the mornings for 3 years.
You had 3.
Opportunity or 3, you know,
So why not just go full time with the teaching?
because it was only a part-time job.
Oh,
They
I
had
didn't
only
know that was.
until they offered me the ASB position.
And then you went full time.
And then they said, that's where I was like, after a year of hustling down the mountain, going
Yeah.
to 47. And my boss was cool at the time. He was like, yeah, you know, we get it. You're teaching. That's a great opportunity. And he said, but when they offered me full time, Melissa, the superintendent at the time, she was like, you know, we'd like to make you full time and give you an ASB.
I think I remember that.
Yeah. And I was like, oh boy. And it wasn't even money at all. It was more like, I'd have to quit.
But here, check this out. This is where God is good. You took this 1 year off from sports. Unprecedented. I'm going to be a mascot for a year.
Mhm.
Mascots are all about spirit and ASB and high. Right? It was like your training,
It was.
but you also were in ASB in high school.
Yeah.
And so when you became ASB director, did all that kind of flood back to you?
100%. I just talked to, or I messaged my, when you post that picture,
Yeah.
there was a picture of me riding in a Santa outfit on a motorcycle during the rally for Christmas,
Yeah.
for our Christmas rally, and or winter break rally, and that was where my mind went. I was like, I gotta cheerleader it up and get everyone fired up, and I didn't ask permission from the principal if I could ride a motorcycle in there. They just said don't do Brodies, so
Don't do what?
Brodies, or what do they call it? Spin
Donuts?
Yeah, spin outs.
I didn't know they're called Brodies.
Brody, I don't know. I don't know where
Okay.
that came from. And I did it, and it was a hit, you know. So
Big time.
So that school really opened up my career in education.
That was
'cause
Sierra.
Yeah.
And then you came to Liberty.
Yeah, and then so the Erica, the other cheerleader friend of mine, her husband was the principal at Liberty High School, Piedra.
Erica from Orosi.
Yeah. So
Oh,
she had
wow.
married Piedra or Felipe Piedra, and so he calls me up and he goes, "Dude, I need your program. I need your video program here at Liberty." And I said, "What do you got?" And he's like, "I don't have anything. I just need another elective." And I heard what you're doing up there, and it's really doing well. And I said, "I love it up here, up here in the, mountain community and all that stuff."
And
And
now you have a 5-minute commute at the
less than
school
that,
your
yeah.
daughter's going to go to school.
yeah, so I have 2 daughters, a freshman and a senior. And they're both, here at Liberty High School with me. And now
And
this
your
year,
brother.
and my brother, yeah.
Oh,
So when they
my
say, have you talked to Chance? Like, pick one now. There's 4 of us. So, yeah. But,
And so it all worked out.
yeah, so it's been really a crazy roller coaster and stuff. But But what brought me back here, which I'm so blessed to have, is I met Leslie when I left Bakersfield. I went back to Sacramento. Well, I went to Sacramento to work for Univision, and that's where I met Leslie.
So Leslie's Jim's wife of how many years?
18, yeah.
18 years, happily married, and 2 children. And you guys met in Sacramento?
No, so I met her at a party here in town. It was
In Fresno.
It was an art party, and we had mutual friends. Actually, she was dating actually my friend's brother at the time and stuff, and they had broken up. So we kind of we all kind of had mutual friends.
Yeah,
and met her at the birthday party. Or it was actually an art party. It was like they were showing off art display, and it was
like an art gallery.
Yeah, it was at a house and stuff.
I'm picturing Tower District.
Yeah,
when you say art.
And so, but yeah, so her and I met, exchanged numbers, and just hit it off.
The rest is history.
Yeah. So it was kind of cool. But what made our relationship work really well, because I was living in Bakersfield and I met her, and I had an opportunity to go to Sacramento. So do I make this relationship and try to come to Fresno and get back into TV in Fresno? And nope. I jumped ship, went all the way back to Sacramento, and worked for Univision a little over 2 years while we were dating. And so
it worked.
And came back on the weekends and stuff. And so distance relationships can work. So
long distance.
Yeah.
And when you're in Sacramento, you work with the Sacramento Kings.
I didn't work with them. I covered their games.
You covered the games.
Yeah.
So you'd be in the arena.
Yeah. So they would send me to cover the sports games and stuff, which was really cool. And so going back to your list of people I met Kobe Bryant, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar there.
Man.
I met
who was
Jerry Springer.
Who was your coolest athlete? As far as like down to earth, cool guy.
Probably, honestly, it was when I worked at Sierra. They had an opportunity to how do I start this? We had a band program. Mr. Weinberger, shout out to Mr. Weinberger. He's retired, great man. Had a Disney aspect on everything. Wanted to be through Disney and stuff. So his program was really successful. But they had 19, I'm guessing, 60s, 70s band instruments and uniforms that were very old and rotted and just old. And so there was a program, the Mariano Rivera program.
Okay, Mariano Rivera, for those who don't watch baseball, was a legendary New York Yankees pitcher.
So his cousin or nephew, I think it was his nephew, went to our continuation school up there. What? Yeah, I know. And they normally would build YMCAs and baseball clinics and stuff all across the country and fund these programs to get people off the streets and help them, like a YMCA type thing. Well, his nephew, and I don't remember his name, but he was wanting to drop out of school, but he loved band. And so the foundation reached out and talked to people and stuff, and they surprised their school with over $250,000 with new instruments and new uniforms. My. And so he came out for 2 days.
Chieftains.
Yeah. He came out for 2 days.
And you hung out with him.
Oh, all day. He was such a great guy. It was just crazy. So, so the celebrity shock kind of wore off really fast. Yeah.
And I think you also said that you met both David and Derek Carr.
Oh yeah, no,
And cool guys.
Yeah. And actually, now you're bringing up other people I remember because my memory sucks now. But Derek Carr, whether you liked him as a Raider quarterback or not, you got to support the fact that he came from Fresno State and stuff. And one of the best stories that I have with him, other than covering all the stuff that happened with his child going through Valley Children's and stuff, was really hard for him and his family. And we covered all that stuff. But because of what they did and he got signed, he came back and they had all these sponsors outside waiting for him to sign autographs and to meet these bigwigs. But he went around. So they asked me to follow him not through the media. I was doing my own production stuff on the side. And so they asked me to follow him and record for the hospital and shoot footage of him interacting with the kids, because none of that got released to the public, because that was just for them in-house.
Yeah.
Because of HIPAA laws and stuff like that. But they wanted that coverage. And so he remembered me covering all these stories from when his son was sick. And so he was just like, "Oh, dude, come on in," and all this stuff. And now he's a Raider fan, which I am, or he's a Raider player. And so, but the story is he had a big rack, a cart with Xbox, PlayStation, toys, just all over, just packed, thousands of dollars worth of stuff. And he was going room to room and giving these kids gifts and just getting that smile. They didn't really know who he was, right? They're young and anywhere from 7, 8 to 15 or whatever.
Yeah.
Some knew of
He's a
him.
nice man with the games.
But one of the guys tapped him and said, "Derek, we need to get going because those guys are waiting for us outside." And he turned around and says, "I don't care about those people outside. I care more about these kids." And I was like, oh, dang. It was deep. It was deep to put that guy in check. I don't know who he was. He was a nice guy, but
Yeah.
it just made him realize he's not here for the corporate world. He was here for the kids that really wanted to have a moment with him, and stuff.
Yeah.
It was great. It was awesome. So
Derek Claus, Santa Claus.
yeah.
I love to hear the stories like that, especially when it's an athlete that you support and you don't know. You hear personal stories and find that they're in alignment with who you thought you had.
Do you have a player or somebody you follow? I mean, even though they don't play for our team.
Well, I still follow Derek. I'm gonna.
Well,
follow
that's
him.
what when Rafa was talking about. Another guy on the show was talking about. He's like, "No, they're the enemy." I'm like, you gotta follow local, man.
Yeah, you gotta go local. Whoever the local guys are.
Who's the other guy that my wife was telling me we don't follow him very much?
Oh, Josh Allen.
Yeah, and he's a great guy too.
Yeah. So yeah, any of those guys do well, I'm there
Yeah.
for them. Just there's something about coming from the valley and going out into the big world and making it that is inspirational to the rest of us because you have this chip on your shoulder when you're from a small town, right? I got to prove myself. I'm with the big boys now. I'm in a different environment. And so when you see somebody do well, immediately, like, you become an instant cheerleader because if they do well, that means I can, you know what I mean? I can make it as well. So, all right. So now we went to the teacher thing, go to the parent thing. We went through the career stuff. Where is James Philip Chance Jr. today? What's the mindset today? Now you're in your 10th year of teaching?
This is my 10th year.
Yeah, video production.
What was your other job you had before teaching? That was the longest you had.
Man, I was Jamaican, man. A lot of jobs. Remember that from A Living Color?
Oh yeah,
12 job, man.
I had 9 tax returns in 1 year.
Wow.
1 year. Whether you work for a week, but I had 9. And it was like, man, you had a lot of jobs. It's like, I just
hustled.
Going back to my dad, he was more like, I ain't going to give it to you unless you work for it, right? The story that you were wanting me to talk about is nothing's earned. You got to earn it. Nothing's given for free. And so anything I had to work for it. So one job worked, it did it. I went to another job. I was working at the local swap meet at the Ramate in Rossi.
You were?
Yeah.
What were you selling?
I was taking the car bunny for parking.
Oh.
And so, but I grew up around that and working over there for years. And that was good side Sunday money. And then I was working at the fire department. So I was a volunteer for, probably, I think it was 7, 8 years. And then before I moved to Fresno. And
Wait, the fire department?
Yeah. I was.
Were you thinking about becoming a fireman?
Because all my buddies got into it. Chuck, Alvino, a lot of them.
That's right.
Yeah,
you have friends who are firemen.
Robert Castillo, they all got into it.
Oh, shout out to Gary Hernandez.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. So they all got into it, and they're doing really well into it. And so, but it wasn't for me long term. But, I mean, I know the money's there and all that. And
was there an actual Dalmatian in the...
No, we didn't have any.
No Dalmatian?
No, so...
Wait, which one? Was it the Rossi firehouse?
The Rossi one, Cutler Rossi, right there in the corner on...
I didn't know you guys had one. I know you have a police substation.
Yeah.
But the fire department as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, every job that I had, I usually did for a long time. But then side note, going way back, when I first started college, I worked for Toys R Us.
Oh, man.
I worked for Toys R Us.
I think they're making a comeback.
And yeah, they are. But what was funny is through Toys R Us, I got hired by Nintendo. And I was playing video games so Nintendo used me as a spokesperson, but I was using Toys R Us. Yeah. So I was using Toys R Us as like a place of sale. And so, but I was wearing like the Donkey Kong because that was the game that I had to promote when it came out.
Was this in college or high school?
College. I was still in college, and so Yeah, so I played video games for a while and got paid for it. So it was
I
pretty
would have
cool,
stayed with that gig right there.
So they
That's very cool.
that was cool. So but yeah, I would and then at the same time I got picked up. It was actually Major Video.
Major Video.
Do you remember Major Video?
No, I
in
remember
Dinuba,
Hollywood Video. Oh,
in Dinuba, and
I thought it was
they,
all that video.
no, Major Video didn't end up got bought out by Blockbuster.
Oh, okay.
And so that's where I met Felipe Piedra. This is him and I.
Or the video store clerks.
We worked he worked there too at the same time we were going to college. And so him and I had that relationship back in the day. Hence him knowing me, calling me up and giving me a job.
So the younger kids right now are going like video store.
Old school, right?
So video store folks, young folks out there, was a store that had all these video movies on a shelf like you would a library, and then you'd rent them out for $2-3. Look up Blockbuster on Wikipedia or Hollywood Video.
It's so sad. Those were such
It was an
landmarks.
experience to go out and pick your movie that way.
I mean, that was a Friday night, right?
Today's really convenient. You don't have to leave your house, but there was something to be said about getting in the car and and physically.
And I've seen some other comedians make fun of this, but it's so real that you're standing there watching someone who's going to drop off a video because you're waiting for that next Jurassic Park to come through the slot.
Yeah.
And you're looking at it and you're like, can you look at that? And then, it's Joe Coy. And he's like, no, I think that was it. And then it was Jumanji. He missed it was just a J part he saw, but it was so, I used to work there. And so we would.
Which one? Major?
I worked at Blockbuster.
You were at Blockbuster?
It got bought out.
Oh, okay. Major got bought out.
By Blockbuster, yeah. And what was really cool
the shirt and
is I'm
everything?
not going to say the person's name because I don't want him to get in trouble, but he was the manager at the Dinuba Burger King.
Yeah.
And so what was really cool was my manager was cool because he was super great, Mel Dodd. And
Mel Dodd was your manager?
Yeah.
Mel Dodd, who ran the Midway Theater.
Yes.
Drive-in theater.
Yeah.
Drive-in theater, by the way, young folks. You take a car and you drive into this open area with a large screen, and you have the
still have one in
speakers.
Dinuba or in
Madera Drive-in.
Madera
Shout out
Drive-In.
Madera Drive-in. Every summer.
Did the Dinuba one
I
close
still
down?
go there. Yeah.
Oh,
No,
it's still open.
that's where Mel worked.
Oh, okay.
My
Is it
sister
still
worked
open?
with him. No, it's a swap meet.
Man.
Yeah, it's a swap meet.
So, but because, my friend was the manager and Mel was our manager, we swapped movies for food. And so for a long
barter
time,
system.
did all of this extra food
Have
would
it your
come
way.
from, yeah. And so, and then that's when the Super Nintendo first started coming out. So we
Yeah.
would sit there and play video games all night and stuff. That was one of the favorite jobs I had because,
And that was in downtown on Alta.
yeah, right there on Alto, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so, but yeah,
Good times.
It's like coming home at 2-3 in the morning. You got off at midnight. You come home so late. And we're like, "What are you doing?" We're like, "Oh, we were playing video games." Because we had access to all the games because they were rentals, and so we'd sit there in the back and eat Whoppers and
The Whoppers and play Nintendo.
so,
That's awesome. Okay, so plenty years of life now. You're 50 now, right?
yeah.
Are you? You don't have to say it like that. But
Because my
here's the thing.
mind's not 50.
No. You're 50 years young.
Yeah.
Well, 50 years young. So for the people out there who haven't hit that 50 mark, let's say for the young 20, 30, 40-year-olds, what would you say is something, a lesson you've learned from life that you'd like to impart on our audience?
Well, I think I've been talking a lot about it. If you want to do something, do it. Don't just kind of wait and see if you can do it, especially if you're good at it. Because then later on because I know for a fact if I wanted to be a firefighter again, I'm older, I could probably learn it and get back into if I wanted to. I could be a cameraman tomorrow. I could be, because that's my passion. It's like these are things that I wanted to be. If I needed to put on a suit, which I actually thought about doing in high school, is to put the suit back on and go out there and do it, I could do it. These are all
Talking about the mascot
yes,
suit?
yeah. I thought about doing it. Just to
The Liberty Hawk.
freak the kids
Wait,
out.
there is a Liberty Hawk costume, right?
Yeah. So, so my thing is, if you're really thinking about doing it, I know it's cliche and we say it all the time, reach for the stars, do it all the time, go after it, do it. There's nothing wrong. And that's why I always tell us it's like not a job, but if we want to do the set and do your YouTube thing, let's do it. Because if you sit back and wait for something and think like, oh, we should have done it. We're getting old now. It's
or
like, why
wait
we
to
did
be
it?
invited.
Yeah, right.
It's not going to happen.
So, and so yeah, just do it. Just
You know what? There's so much truth to that, Jim. And also, I think you'll agree with this, that when you do get out there and take that chance, the universe kind of aligns with you. You know what I mean? It's like I started on a 4th of July with a camera in my room, terrible lighting. If you guys go back to Rob Live episode 1, you're like, what the, right?
the light would turn off. I remember that. Yeah.
but the deal was like I got something going, had no idea that this space would ever be open or that you would be available. And now here we are with this. And none of that happens if, like you said, we wait on the sideline and don't jump in and just try it. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to have a complete, pristine, perfect game plan, because, by the way, that will get destroyed, to just take that first step. And I remember when Willie first introduced me to you, he had said, yeah, you know, my friend Jim, and he's a cameraman for like 47. And I was like, how do you become a cameraman? It's not in the book.
Yeah.
You know, you don't go to the career center and it's like, oh, cameraman, a doctor, lawyer, right? It's a very unorthodox thing to take on.
But you know what you just did? You dated yourself, because there's no such thing as a career center anymore.
Well,
right?
we have a career center at my school. I don't know if we're old.
It's the uppity up school.
Do you guys have a?
No, we don't have that. We have Google.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, but you're right. Just do it. All right. So, man, I'm just grateful to have met you. And what are we going on as friends? 20 years? I met you.
It was on our Facebook page. It just popped up. Yeah, I remember.
No. Our Facebook years are different because social media. I met you before social media. Thank God.
Yeah.
Because some of the.
Oh.
I have you. Okay, I have you. I think I'm like 28th birthday party. You were the cameraman.
I was just listening to a song the other day that we were dancing in your living room.
Oh, I already.
That on your birthday? Was that
I already know what song it is.
Yeah, one more time. And I was
we played that like 70 times.
Such a good party.
But I mean, back then you were doing camera work.
I had my camera with us, following you and the buddies, all of us, you know, chasing you guys around for it's documentation. I just, you know, I know you're on social media way more than even I am
now. Now.
But and anyone listening to this might take this as a note. Sign up for a YouTube channel. Create your own genealogy channel. Think about that. If you document your kids, your birthdays, your family, your aunt, your uncle, your grandma, grandpa, mom, and dad, if you have video of all these things that you're doing already with TikTok, social media, with all this stuff that you're doing on put it on a YouTube channel and let that be your free genealogy for your kids. If you don't know what genealogy is, it's just documentation of your life. Yeah. I have 4 channels. Two of them are with you, but it's like I have my own Chances
Productions.
I have an RC channel. I was doing RC for a while,
which is remote control cars.
Yeah, which my kids love. And but I have a Chance Fam 4. And so my Chance Fam 4 channel is just everything from my kids from being born till now, to their graduations, to their wedding-ish.
Wow.
Whenever that
okay,
gets
so let me ask you that. Is that open to the public or is it a private channel?
It's private.
Okay, so I didn't know about private or public back in the day. So my family channel, all right, so this channel that we have, Rob Live, is 173 subscribers. Thank you, by the way, all of you subscribed. Well, that family channel, that's 659.
And you don't have that many in your family.
659 something. And I have there's some videos on there, random videos that have like 600,000 views.
You can be making money off
and
of
I'm like, no, what it is like Juju Schuster, the Pittsburgh player, getting blown up by a Cincinnati Bengals player. Oh. And I just thought it was funny. I recorded it, and it's like 600. I was like, wait, what? So there's some random videos on there. But yeah, no, but to Jim's point, my kids now go back to see themselves at 1 year old.
Yeah.
On these channels.
Yeah. To me, it's funny because I have 3 Google photo links. And so my youngest daughter would be like, Dad, can you put this on? I want to go back and look at, you know, grandma, grandpa, or whoever they are and stuff. And I'm like, wow. And so she'll sit there and she'll look at all these pictures of her when she was born and all this stuff going memory lane. And it's sad, but it's so cool that they can. So it's like, so one of those
Time
things,
capsule.
yeah. So anything, it is. And so one of those things that I love doing is, and it's time consuming, you know, editing and trying to do all this stuff. People are like, oh, I don't have time to do that. There are apps out there that'll do it for you. And you could easily just put all these videos in there and put it in there. Majesto is one of them. Again, you know, send Robert a shout out or send him some comments, because I definitely will give you guys some easy ones to put
CapCut.
on.
Did you say CapCut?
CapCut doesn't, you got to do it yourself, but these other apps will do it for you. You just put stuff in there, hit edit, and it creates a video for you.
What?
Yeah.
What was that one called?
It's called Majesto.
Majesto, guys.
With a G.
And that's on the phone?
Yeah, it's free. Yeah.
There you guys go, Majesto.
So if you, I mean, seriously, some people love their phones and they want to take pictures of everything and post it, but create a YouTube channel. Because so my thing when I do weddings and stuff like that, when I do videos, so one of my selling pitches with people is, what are you going to do with the video you're recording with? Your phone only has so much storage. It only has so much storage on there. What are you going to do with that video when you're done? Well, I'm going to keep it. And then when it's full, what are you going to do? Like I tell my students, you have to have room in that phone for you to use it. Well, I'll delete it. Well, maybe it's valuable. So why don't you, and I tell parents this when I do back to school night, why don't you take all those 50 to 100 photos and videos that you send grandma when you're at Disneyland anyways, and create a 1 to 2 minute little short highlight video of the whole trip.
Majesto.
Yep. And then post that.
And that becomes a video
That's
to
your
put
video.
on YouTube.
That's your highlight.
I'm doing that this week.
So, and here's another thing for brides, future brides that I do weddings for.
Take note, future brides.
So if a lot of people, and this is weird, but they're paying more for a smaller video clip. It's social media. No one, and nothing against this religion, but Catholic weddings are very long, and no one wants to sit through a mass of an hour and a half of a wedding.
Yeah.
Grandma and your tia might, but after
we have the Catholic wedding video.
So, but how many times you just go to the highlights? I just want to see the highlights.
We want to see the kiss.
People charge more
walk down
for
the
less.
aisle.
And it's just the nature of the social media beast, because they want to post a 5-minute highlight reel instead of trying to post a 3-hour long day.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. So it is what it is. So if you have these type of editing opportunities, apps and stuff like that. I did a wedding, my nephew's wedding about a month ago, and he hired a social media girl to follow me around and get all the stuff and post that on social media.
Smart.
I've never even thought of networking a career as social media.
And that's who she is.
That was what she was. She was a social media paparazzi type person. That's what she did.
Very cool.
So
there's new jobs out there, especially with AI coming out. So, all right. So, man, we got a lot today. And from now on, when you guys hear that voice in the background and you're like, well, who is that? That is James Philip Chance Jr. I wanted to say the second, but you're called Junior.
That's still, it's Junior. But.
Awesome. Hey, well, thank you for this. Thank you for creating this wonderful studio. Thank you for all the work you do with the channel and with your kids and with Liberty. I mean, you're affecting a lot of lives.
You know, it's one of those things where I did the firefighting for a while. I didn't even get into, I was a beekeeper for several years with my grandfather.
I'm learning new stuff. I've known this guy. Those guys watching this are going to be like, what the?
I had 9 tax returns in 1 year. So,
Beekeeper.
I was a beekeeper with my grandfather. He was in apiaries for a long time with the county of Clovis. Shout out to Bernard Podesta. Yeah, if anyone knows that name. But, yeah, so, I had a lot of jobs and stuff. But my point, though, is I did things to experiment, to try them out, to see if I like them. I'd rather have my kids have several jobs that don't work out than not a job at all. At least they're trying.
Yeah.
So it's like, at least you're trying, sweetie, keep trying. You're going to find one. Yeah. So you're going to find one that you like. And that was one of the things that I've always thought was, it's like, I want to try. And who knows, after 10 years, maybe I might want to be a a traveling YouTuber or something like that. My wife and I want to go on the road when we
Stay
retire.
tuned
So yeah.
for the next chapter in
So,
Jim's.
but
Jim's
whatever it
life.
is, it's going to be long term. So
Yeah.
you know, it's I've had some really long careers. You know, like I said, firefighting, you know, television, you know, teaching now 10 years, and so it's going to be interesting when I teach longer than I did in TV.
Oh, when they meet,
Yeah, when they get to that point where you're like, did you do?
I've been doing this as long as that.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I'm glad. I'm glad you turned into this because now you're taking all that experience that you had from your camera work, and now all these kids are benefiting from that.
You know, my wife was telling me one time. She goes, "You're living high school all over again," and I'm like, in a weird way, I am. I am, and
The prom's coming up.
I'm loving it, but I'm in charge now.
Yeah.
I could do what I want in my classroom, and I could, you know, see the kids. I could see their light bulb go off instead of my own, and trying to, you know, do that type of thing. But teaches it's
rewarding, right?
It's very rewarding. It is honestly one of those jobs now. After I was saying that I was covering teachers
Education.
complaining about their money and their
Yeah.
lack of class, you know, they want smaller class sizes. I get it, but teachers are underpaid and teachers are overworked. And I think if you, and I'm just saying this, I think if you had the same type of expectations from your teacher as you would your own doctor, it would make sense to know, like, hey, they're educating these future kids. They should get paid just as much as someone who's, you know, putting you under the knife. You know, it's one of those investments. You know, that do you trust him cutting you open or taking care of you health wise? Then we should pay them or support them as much as we would want them to take care of our kids in that same scenario. So,
Wow, you heard it here. Doctors and teachers matching salaries. Heard it here first from Jim Chance.
doctors are like, shut up.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. In your
problem.
own home, in your
Yeah.
own studio.
Yeah,
Are you going anywhere?
I'll be here on your next show behind the scenes. So,
All right,
But-
guys. Well, we're going to end our show like we do as always. Thank you for being here with love, peace, and chicken grease. It's Rob Live, and we out.
thanks, guys.